Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about the video that I made back in January, how I was making a billion ISK a day. But before I jump into that part of the video, I just want to say, and again reiterate what this channel is generally about and why it came about. I was fed up of reading on the forums that high-sec industry was bad and you couldn't do it, and all the negative parts that come with trying to do industry in high sec. And at the time, obviously, I was making ISK, and that's how this channel came around. And again, I give you hints and tips and things that I do. I always show you to an extent what it is that I actually do and how I go about it, as per the last video, for instance. And that's not to say this is the best way to do it or that it's the most efficient way. It's the way that I have come about doing it, and it's the way that works for me, and I share it with you guys. Now, whether that works for you or not is, and again, it doesn't mean that this is, it can't be refined and can't be changed. I'm just putting it out there of what I do. So, there are people that often comment of, oh, you've been in the game 17 years, you can't do it if you've started the game in the last 2 or 3 years. And that's absolute codswallop. You can make very, very good ISK in a decent amount of time doing industry. And recently I've had quite a few people get in touch to basically say thanks for, starting this. It's, it's given me ideas that I weren't aware of prior, and it's gotten me into industry, and I've made a good amount of ISK from it. So, thank you. And it is appreciated when I hear things like that, because I do get a lot of negative pushback of, people criticizing X, Y, and Z. So, again, this isn't the best way, but it's the way that I've found that works for me. And again, this is just to broaden people's horizons and to let people know what is possible. And again, as I said, I do it all in high sec. I do very focused industry on usually 1 or 2 aspects of the build. I don't go into contracts with people. I don't get discounts from anybody. Everything that I buy is directly off the market, whether it be a buy order or a sell order. And generally I don't, well, not generally, I don't sell it in bulk either to specific people or alliances or individuals. All my stuff gets sold back straight onto the market. So there are numerous ways to refine what it is that I do to make more ISK. But again, I'm not bothered, or I'm not interested in maximizing the sheer amount of ISK possible. I'm happy with the amount that I make, and again, I share it with you guys. So with that said, let's get into the crux of the actual video. As I said, back in January, I made a video of how I make a billion ISK per day. And again, generally, it's relatively vague that I go into. I give you the ISK values that I'm making roughly for each aspect, whether it be manufacturing, whether it be researching, reactions, and the rest of it. And again, I can't generally, well, I can go into specifics at the time. But again, that just tanks the market. So when I do make these videos, they are rather vague, so it is nice to be able to go back, revisit, and give you somewhat of a breakdown of how I was making that amount of ISK. So prior to the change in the auto integrity seals, I was producing carbon fiber. I had 25 to 30 slots actually producing the carbon fiber, and 40 to 50 slots feeding all the materials, because these are quite slow to build. You need to build the carbon fiber, the polymers, and the solvents, etc. So that was quite an intensive practice. I did use a jump freighter for that to get into Tama and back. But again, that was giving me on average about 200 million ISK per day producing that. So that was quite a nice earner. So with the reinforced carbons, I'm making giving me a profit of 5,700 per unit after all necessary expenses, and I was able to produce 1.8 per minute times 60 times 25 and times 24 hours was bringing in roughly 367 million ISK per day. And then from there we went to the auto integrity units, and again these were making a decent amount of ISK. Again, these have been changed for the time being, and I haven't really stuck my head back in the market in regards to these because, well, we can see it dropped off massively. As we've established before, the volume hasn't increased in jitter particularly, so I don't see there being much of a market there for me to really get into and make a decent amount of ISK from. So from there, I was building the auto integrity units with some of the carbon fiber that I was producing. Again, this just helped to integrate it into what I was building. I could have sold it separate, but again, by introducing it into here, I got rid of more of the units. So I was selling it on the market, and I was having to build these in order to suck up the sheer amount of reinforced carbon that I was building at the time. So it worked quite well. The integrity seals gave around about 40,000 ISK per run. You can do 6 of these in an hour, so over 24 hours, 5 million ISK, and I had 40 of these BPOs running, churning out 230 million ISK a day. Now, every so often, or now and then, I would build the life support units. Let's go with that. So I'd build the life support backup units, but again, I didn't produce a great deal of these. I only had 10 BPOs for producing these, so I'm not going to include these in the calculation because this was a bit intermittent, hit and miss. I didn't make anywhere near as many of these as I did with the reinforced carbon fibers. So if you cast your mind back, I did make a video in regards to the core temperature regulators, and these have been incredibly profitable. To buy the actual BPO is 750 million ISK, and basically once you've researched it, you can pretty much sell it for double, or you could at times. So 1.84 million, 1.84, 1.84. Some here that have sold. Again, 184, 17, and so on and so on. You get the idea. But basically, some of these were selling for what? Well, 1.81 billion ISK. And now these in Tama take 50 days to research. And at times I was producing 22 of these over the 50 days. So again, if we're taking the 750 million ISK profit, we divide that by 50 days. That's 15 million ISK. Times by 22 was giving me, give or take, 330 million ISK per day for producing them or for researching them. And then bringing them back to Jitter to sell. Now, market has slowed down somewhat on them, but again, it was still a great earner. I think them alone have probably resulted in about 90 billion ISK profit in total. So pretty much doubled any money or ISK that I've put into buying these and selling them. So they have been a fantastic earner over the time, but unfortunately that seems to have dried up somewhat at the moment. And then sprinkled into there, I've done some trading. Again, I was trying to get better at trading. I'm not fantastic at trading. I was doing a lot of faction items, faction modules, pretty much anything faction really, and that was producing about 2 billion ISK. 3 billion ISK? About 3 billion ISK a month, so nothing crazy there, unfortunately. But again, I was trying to get that up, but it didn't really work out for me, and at the moment I've kind of dropped off for trading. I do watch Oz. I am trying to get better. It is on my to-do list, but I don't find trading particularly exciting, and I know a lot of you watching this are going to be like, well, industry's not exactly exciting, but I actually enjoy industry, where the trading part, I enjoy watching the ticks come in, don't get me wrong, but managing orders and just changing things around doesn't really do it for me a great deal. So I don't do a great deal of trading, unfortunately. Again, as I said, I was trying to get better at it, and it's just, it's not that I'm struggling. Well, I am struggling, but I just can't. I kind of cap out at the 3 billion ISK stage and just can't seem to get past it at the moment. So something I do intend to work on and try and get better at, whether I just need more orders or I need to broaden my horizons. But yeah, it's not my strong point. But again, 3 billion ISK a month. Again, roughly 100 million ISK a day. So again, not to be sniffed at. And on top of that, I would do invention here, there, and everywhere for modules, anything that the market was needing. Tech 2 particularly, invention, and then obviously I've got my BPOs as well on top of that. So we have the Scourge, Rage Torpedo, we have the core processor, Tech 2, and we have the heavy missile launcher. Tech 2, not heavy missile launcher, sorry, the Nova heavy missile. And again, that brings in roughly 3.5 million ISK a day. Again, that varies up and down, but again, another 100 million ISK there for just producing the 3 items. So again, not to be sniffed at. And that pretty much wraps that up. So let's add that to there. And again, you know, again, I get criticized a lot for not showing these things more often, but it is hard because again, as soon as you show anybody in great detail, and this is the difference, and then this is the hard part. And again, I'll try not to parrot Warren Buffett too much here, but because I'm trying to do it at scale, I'm looking for things where I can again do 40 blueprints at a time in manufacturing. And again, these areas are quite small and niche. If you're only using one character, then you can afford to be a lot more picky and a lot more careful with the single things that you're building and try and maximize the risk that you're making. You know, I'm okay looking at smaller risk amounts because I'm doing it over a scale of alts and not just the one character. So there are loads of opportunities out there for 3 and 4 items to be building at a time. It's just that's not enough for me. I need to be looking at scale. And again, this is where when you're building, that scale is really hard because you have to be careful, as I said numerous times. If you build too much, you saturate the market and then you can't sell. And then if you're still producing, then basically you're just building up a backlog. So it can be quite a balancing act to find things that, you know, again, you can have 40 slots pumping out at a time. And this is, again, one of the main reasons I don't tell you guys specifically what I'm building because, well, again, there's 8,000 members or subscribers now. And, you know, if I say, build X right now, it's doing fantastic, even if 1% of you do it, that's going to flood the market very quickly, and basically then I'm looking for something else. And I could do that, but again, it doesn't help anybody because, well, anybody that jumps into that market's going to get burned, and you're going to be back at square one within a day or two, scratching your head going, well, now what do I build? And basically it's just a cycle. You need to be looking around the markets, finding the things that work for you and implementing them and building them and selling them. And that is it. So again, roughly 1.13 billion ISK. Again, some days it was less, some days it was more. I don't always have everything producing 24/7. I've also got 11 freighter BPOs that produce copies continuously, and I didn't include that. That's another 50 million ISK somewhere around a day for all the copies. And then I do invention with them copies to make them into jump freighters. I don't build the jump freighters, just the BPCs, but they sell decently well. There's a nice markup on them to be made. So again, all these kind of combine to make, give or take, right? And again, that's why I always, you know, people always accuse me of, you know, over egging things. And if anything, I generally under egg things because I'd rather give you the word, you know, because I could say, well, add another 50 to that and then invention and then that, and I was, you know, could give you the headline that I'm making 1.5 billion ISK a day, but I'd rather round it down. And this is going to seem ironic, but so I don't sensationalize it, you know, I'd rather be under the amount that I'm actually making and be able to give it you more factually than saying, well, you know, I'm making 1.5 billion ISK, but I'll, you know, I might as well round it up and it's 2 billion ISK a day now. So I'd rather round down than round up. So yeah, all the videos that you see that say, yeah, I'm making X, Y, and Z are generally rounded down. So just to give you a bit of context there. So yeah, that's how I was making 1 billion ISK per day. And again, relatively straightforward. And again, all concentrating on a handful of items. 2 of them were integrated. But again, doing things at scale. Just not to confuse myself, basically, because again, I could have been doing 5 items of this, 5 items of that, time, you know, over 6, 7 different characters. By the time you've done, oh my word, I end up losing my head. And I, you know, some people are great at managing that, but that's just not me. Unfortunately, I can't do it. So I like to concentrate on specific items and do it as much as possible to an amount that I'm willing to accept per hour. So I hope that was interesting. I hope that gave you some light, and I hope that was yeah, I hope that helped, you know, give you an idea of how I do it in the past, because I don't think I've actually ever broke down one of these videos to how I've been making the ISK. And that's because a lot of the time I've been able to go back to it, but obviously with the changes to the auto integrities and the rest of it recently. That has kind of kiboshed that, and I'm back in square one at the moment, looking for things to really get back into. So thanks for your time, thanks for listening, drop a comment, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll speak to you again soon.